Welcome back, guys. It's Johnny here from Johnny Watson Gaming, and we've got Scruffy Crow with me. And today we're going to be talking about the old world. It is here with us, and we're going to have our little 2 pennies worth to say about this. And we're going to have a bit of fun. So grab a cup of tea, sit down, get on to your hobby, and listen to us chat. So, James, I haven't actually had that much chance to go through it.
No, me neither.
Not yet.
Here, though, for reference. Oh yeah.
However,
you haven't got this one, have you? You haven't got.
No, I do have the other one though, which is down there.
Good armies.
First of all, what is your first thoughts? Because I do know that you have actually played a very quick game of this. So, first and foremost, how does it feel? Is it anything like old editions? If so, what editions? And was it enjoyable? I think that's the first and foremost. That's what we want to know.
Yeah, the first game I had was for Skaven, and they were using a sort of older armies project list. But one thing I did notice is that this is relatively similarly sort of statted and pointed to older editions. So I think using the legacy list in that first game wasn't massively wrong. But obviously now they've brought out those legacy PDFs, and yeah, I was using my Beastmen, and it was a fun game. It was definitely a fun game, definitely enjoyable. More enjoyable than any game of Warhammer I've played in the last few years. Certainly more enjoyable than any game of 8th that I've had Well, I say recently. Turns out that Age of Sigmar is almost 10 years old.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. Age of Sigmar is a thing. So you enjoyed it. It played well. It was smooth.
Played smoothly. The new charge reactions, sort of break reactions and things worked well. It kept the game moving. Like, we didn't have any. I'd forgotten that almost every edition of Warhammer before 8th didn't have step up. So it was a tiny bit weird getting used to that again.
Yeah.
But I think, perfect change, exactly what's needed. And after playing lots of Oathmark, I love Oathmark to bits, but this does feel like a more sort of grown-up game. Like there's a lot more to it. It's going to take me a long while to sort of read through this and absorb all those rules again and get them straight in my head, but I think I'd rather play this. I've just noticed a thing that I only noticed about the Warhammer logo ever probably in the last couple of years, that the Warhammer logo itself is still a tiny little battle full of people. Yeah.
Do you know what? I think I only found out since you told me about that. I never noticed it either. But yes, they are still doing that though. That's great. I mean, as far as I've read so far, it's very much a new version of 6th.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ash from Guerrilla Games called it a new 6th edition with Lord of the Rings battles mixed in for the magic, and some of the other bits. And I mean, if you want a full breakdown of the rules and the changes versus the previous updates, the Ash Barker videos going through it all are. I don't think you could ask for better than those. Those are. Yeah,
he knows his stuff, doesn't he? He knows his stuff, and he does a step-by-step run through the whole book, or all the books.
Yeah, I think and he practically reads the army books sort of word for word across all the different videos. So there's no point in us doing that. I think that's nearly covered.
we wouldn't do it justice. No way.
No, not only is that being covered, but there's much better videos for that. But yeah, no. First game, it was only 1,000 points. It was only sort of ad hoc. It was at midnight. And we were just sort of fudging it a bit, but
of course. I mean, your first game,
I would say, yes, I enjoyed it. I did say at the time, and I have said at least once since, this possibly is my favourite edition of Warhammer. And if we look behind me, big. I have. Oh, can we get a shot? I have many editions of Warhammer. I think
that's big.
This is. It's got everything I like about 6th, but it plays a little bit faster and just, I don't know. It just they seem to fix the problems instead of whatever they did in 7th, and then God knows what they decided their idea was for 8th.
You're saying to me that you feel like it scaled it down just a little bit, so big hordes doesn't seem to be. I know. Look, you're basing this on one game, and it's probably not enough, but you've got that impression that you don't like. I think maybe Step Up was a big thing. It's stopping that the horde thing by not having that in, but it's feeling more like a maneuver game rather than a just throw a mass blob of infantry onto the table type game. Yeah,
I think it's less likely to be able to just mass hammer out an entire game now. I think there's going to be more movement, and I think cavalry and monsters might be more important now that monsters can get into a unit and get stuck in, and then that first round potentially be safe by annihilating those front ranks. I think that's going to be. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the sort of meta turns into, and what. I'm sure before long we'll see what's powerful and what's not, and we'll be decision about.
We will, and I guess again it will all depend on whether you're a competition player, because that's where the meta sort of comes from, isn't it? Mainly, personally, I'm not, so I will probably just keep it sort of quite fluffy and not really worry about whether something's good or bad in the game. But yeah, I'm sure in the next it's not going to take long because. Obviously, the hype is big. So in the next few weeks to months, we're going to really see what units work. To be fair, there's only a couple of armies already out with the Tomb Kings and the Bretonnians. Although I dare say, we've got the Orcs coming very soon by the looks of things.
Soon, and they're getting one of those sort of extra units books. From what I've heard, though, I've not really read through the extra units books. What they called magical diaries. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Essentially like a codex-y type thing, isn't it?
I don't think anything in there is going to be more powerful than what's in here.
I hope not. Do you know what? I really, really hope not, because these books are almost like sort of a Ravening Hordes type thing, aren't they?
I mean, this one's literally called Ravening Hordes.
Well, that one is, yes, that's it. It's, but from the old 6th edition where they had the Ravening Hordes and it really brought everything back into line. This is kind of what it's done, and I really hope they don't start creeping the power levels too quickly. And what have you got there? There you go. There it is. The old one. There's the old one.
Yeah. No. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, this is the last Chaos Dwarves army list ever.
Yeah.
And I've played games using army lists from this. There's
a lot of people will say that's the best version of Warhammer.
This is a step up from this. I don't know if anyone. I imagine a lot of people haven't seen this. But that's literally what you get per army. Can I? There's a bit of reflection there. That's it. That's what you get per army.
Yeah.
You get some stat block.
That's in the old Ravening Horde you're looking at there, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's really there's. I mean, Chaos Warriors. There we go. That's everything. It's just 2 A4 sheets.
Yeah.
And that's everything you get. So it is, I believe, quite balanced. Some of the rules are a bit wonky in here, if I'll be honest. It's not super thought through. I don't think. That's more along the lines of the PDFs they've brought out, just getting people playing.
Yeah.
This actually feels like chunks of codexes.
Yeah. Well, or it's basically the army books taken out and put into a larger book, really, isn't it? It's just you just remove the fluff and just put in the important information to play the game.
Yeah.
But yes, what we run the risk of though is as the independent books come out, like the Bretonnian one, the Orc one coming, that they start adding extra things in there that's going to start creeping the balance. Hope that's not the case, and I hope they just keep it quite simple. Maybe some fluffy things to come through them sort of books. Who knows? But
yeah, I think the way you worry is if they start bringing out models that there's not currently rules for.
Yes,
with it being sort of specialist games team rather than the main games team, like if they start bringing out, I mean, I remember back, would that be 6th edition or so that they had the. What was he called? There was the Chaos Ogre, the Toucan, whatever he was, and there was a big guy on a dragon, and they brought out Plague Toads and the Wolves. I've got some of those, the Blood Wolves and stuff. Anyway, if they start bringing out specialist models, that they charge an arm and a leg for that have the new hotness of rules, because it always used to be that Forge World models and rules were always more powerful than the standard stuff. So that'd be my worry. I don't think that there's going to be anything in those. I mean, they might slip up here and there, but I don't think there's going to be anything game breaking.
Yeah.
When they do the army releases, I think it's more the ad hoc stuff we've got to watch out for.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think they're going to mostly just concentrate on making as much money as they can selling kits that they designed 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Which we've been saying for ages is a no-brainer for them.
I know.
If you bring out the Empire Militia kit,
it's going to be bought. People are going to buy it.
People will buy it for Mordheim. People will buy it for everything.
People are trying to buy it on eBay for silly prices. Get it out.
And the opportunity for new kits. So I was having a game of Mordheim tonight actually, and we were discussing the Beastman army because my opponent is also going to be playing Beastman.
Yep.
And we were talking about what kits we might see for Beastman that might be new, and we thought, well, Centaurs. I think they're still being sold on the website. I think they're out of stock at the moment because everything Old World is. But they're still being sold as part of the Age of Sigmar range, the Centaurs. And they're the models that I have in metal, which have been fine cast for a while. But yeah, why you could make a plastic kit of those and cross-release them with Age of Sigmar without any trouble. Something like Harpies or Furies. They're something that there's never been a plastic kit for. I believe there's been some plastic models released for one of the little smaller sort of board game type games, but like 4 of them, you know. So there's kits they could still bring out that there's currently already rules for, but not really models for, or that haven't been updated in a long while. I said Beastmen are quite lucky that I think pretty much everything in this book has plastic models more available for it. So sort of the Gores and Ungores and Bestigores have all got relatively new plastic kits.
I mean, all they've got to do really is just put square bases in with the round bases, so you can buy for whatever you're playing.
And they've been doing that for years with Demons.
Well, this is it. I mean, how do you feel? I mean, with that then, how do you feel that GW dealt with the release of the game?
That didn't make sense to me. I would have thought you'd want this book in as many people's hands day one as possible. I was lucky that my local store got all their order, because I heard some stores didn't get everything they ordered.
Yeah.
There's seems to be accusations and reasons going backwards and forwards to why that might have been, but I said my local store in Nottingham got their full allocation as far as I could tell, and there was even enough left on the launch night, technically Saturday morning, to score one for yourself.
Thank you.
So I had no trouble. I had this lockdown, before the sort of crazy release weekend. That I almost get the impression that GW didn't really think it was going to be as popular as it has been. I don't know. I don't think so. I think the fact that everything just completely sold out, and obviously I've been watching Blood Bowl releases for years, and the dice and the sort of special edition stuff always sells out straight away. And I think a lot of that is to scalpers.
There will be that.
I believe there was a relatively big 40k release this Saturday just gone.
Yeah.
And they've been absolutely like nuking some of the scalpers' orders. If they see what looks like an automated order, they've been basically just refunding them.
Right.
And cancelling them.
Okay. But that's good to know that they are trying to do stuff like that, because it's obviously it impedes into the hobby, doesn't it?
Yeah, because little stuff like magic cards and dice and stuff is. Yeah, I can see why they don't have massive runs of them, but the last few releases I've ever tried to get any of that stuff, it's just been instant.
But
stock.
Like you say,
but the actual rule book, I would have printed so many of these, because presumably this is going to be around for 4 or 5 years. I would assume.
Yeah.
I mean, if they ever even, this might be it.
Yeah.
This might be the old world. This might be the book forever.
For all time.
For all time. So we don't even know we're going to get a 2nd edition, 10th edition. I don't know. Is this 2nd edition or 10th? Is this 1st edition or 10th edition? 9th edition?
That's a good question. That's comments below, guys.
Yeah, is this 1st edition or 9th edition?
What do you think?
I've heard it referred to as 10th edition because of all the 9th.
Because 9th is already, yeah. Well,
and I'll
stick my neck on the block there, and I'll say I think it's a 9th edition.
9th edition.
Yeah, okay. I think it's basically Warhammer. They've just put a new name to it, but it's fantasy.
But I mean, well, one thing I will say, which we've discussed this, said as far as releasing the book and getting people back in, I can't remember how much this is, but I do remember it being a very reasonable price.
It's £42.50.
£42.50. I got
the price of mine.
I am 100% sure that I paid considerably more for this one.
Yeah,
and that was before like crazy inflation and stuff. This is a thicker. This came up. We had a conversation. No one could agree whether or not this one was thicker than 8th. It is not.
Right, there you go. 8th is slightly bigger. And
there's a lot of absolute nonsense in here. I flicked back through it the other day just to try and work out why this was so much thicker. And there's it's a beautiful book, but there's just so much like stuff that you don't.
Yeah,
they didn't need to be in there. I mean, I'm particularly. This is probably the edition I ended up playing maybe the most, and I ended up carrying this book around a lot. So I wish they'd made. 40k do the little gamers editions of them sometimes.
Yeah. That's what they need, because you don't want to ruin these. These are nice. At the moment, they're in good condition. When you start flicking through them, it'll ruin them, which is a shame. A little booklet would be nice with just the rules. So if GW are listening, that'd be a good one. If I haven't done it already.
Or like a gamers edition, like they've done. They have done that for 40k, like a little pamphlet, and just cut out, because a lot the rules wise is only that percentage of the book. So what's that? About a third.
Yeah, there's still a large amount, really, isn't it? I mean, that's a fair
lot. I mean,
book.
when you think of something like Oathmark, I don't think the Oathmark book's even that fat.
No,
I mean the Oathmark book doesn't have any fluffing either, but. And just while I'm talking about pictures, to be honest, though, they've got a lot of classic art. I noticed there's a lot of Codex covers in here.
See, that's good. I love that. I'm happy that they're putting art back in these books. That is, to me, what GW used to be so good at.
I don't feel like they've commissioned an awful lot of new art for this.
No, I don't think they would needed to.
But that is one of my favourites. That's the 6th edition.
The
Orcs cover.
Yeah,
that's a lovely picture. I don't think I've ever seen that without the border around and stuff. But yeah, it's a nice book as well. So I'm happy with that as a nice book. But as I said, back to your question, they should have had this in as many people's hands. I know more than I can count on my fingers people who've been tangentially interested in being lured back in by Games Workshop, but then instantly put off by the unavailability of these.
Do you think, because there's been a lot of conjecture whether the GW are sort of trying to gun after the Total War fan base with this release? I mean, personally, I don't think they're getting anyone from that. Not many. I think it's all just gamers of a certain age who remember the glory days of fantasy and just want to play fantasy. I think there's a fallacy that they're getting any of those gamers.
Yeah, I think looking at the prices on eBay for old-timer models and models from this, specifically this sort of 6th edition era, the last few years, they're just going up and up and up. I think there's definite demand for these older models and this older game. I'm on a Facebook page that's just about playing 6th edition. That seems quite popular. So I think, they're the players that are really excited for this. I think it is a very popular game, but I think if you're into playing that game, you're either probably for two reasons. One, you already liked Warhammer.
What is this Total War you're talking?
Total War, yeah, Total War. I played it. It bored me to tears. I played it for like 6 solid hours until like 2 a.m. and I'm never playing this again.
The problem with getting that group of people into this game is that they're not hobbyists.
No, I think they already were hobbyists, and it's an interesting way to play Warhammer and push models around without having to paint them or move them or have space. Or they're people who like Total War games. in which case it's going to be a hard sell to convert them.
Yeah, they're not going to. The people who just are a computer gamer is not going to just jump into this. No chance.
What I will say is it might have raised the consciousness, but I think games like Vermintide and they did like a Mordheim game. There's been a few fantasy games that have done all right recently, and I think they're more likely to have raised the consciousness of this sort of the old world stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm mega excited for it. So, obviously, I say obviously, James has challenged me to getting an army put together, and likewise, I've challenged him. So we're going to try and get up. Probably get to a 2,000 point army eventually, but we're probably going to start to get to about 500 points. That's the first goal.
Yep. So I've got 500 points based and almost ready for paint now. So I'm pretty similar actually. Everything's based. It's half its prime, so I'm sort of running through that now. So are you basing for Old World or are you basing for?
Good question. Good question. Very good question. No, I'm not basing for Old World. I'm going with the traditional base sizes, with the view of using movement trays to get to the size.
Yeah.
Personally, the reason I'm doing that is because as soon as I rebase these, I lose the opportunity to play the older games. I want to play the older games still, especially 4th and 5th. I still want to play them games. So I don't want to lose that ability or it be clunky because I've changed the base sizes. Whereas you can always go up, you can't go down. So, and I think people are wasting a lot of time. If this is the only game you're going to play, fair enough.
I think the main people who are rebasing, if I'm honest, are Age of Sigmar players.
Yeah, true. What ones that have got round bases?
I haven't seen that many square base people actually rebasing.
And do you think Age of Sigmar people are going, oh no, sod this, I'm not going to play Age of Sigmar anymore, I'm going to play this?
Yes.
Do you think that's happening?
I think there's people probably 10 years younger than us, say, who grew up on the idea of Warhammer.
Yep.
But all that's been available since they had like grown-up money is Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
And that's what they've played because that's where the games are at. That's what games they can get in the store. Even said, well, I go to an independent, go to Leadbelt Games Arena in Nottingham. Shout out. It seems to be dominated by Games Workshop games.
Yeah, of course.
So people play Age of Sigmar because that's available and other people play it. And now there's a new Games Workshop game that is supported. And I said specifically armies like Skaven, which is a shame that they're not fully supported. Chaos Warriors, Beastmen, stuff like that. That's actually very transferable.
Yeah,
That you can sort of rebase that and get things. And I think they're more excited. Yeah, they actually are quite excited. And I think you will actually get a few people flipping over.
Yeah,
and expanding their armies. I mean, they will buy more models. I think you need more, to a certain extent, more models for Warhammer than you would do for Age of Sigmar, potentially. Depending
certainly.
on what lists you're playing.
Yeah, of course. And what are you doing then, James? Are you rebasing, or are you keeping it at the older sizes, or what's your plan?
So thankfully, most of my Beastmen 25s is what they're already on. My own girls, I already decided to put them on 25s to fit for 6th anyway. I'm probably not going to play any further back than 6th. And if I ever do want to play 7th or 8th, if I accidentally go out of my mind and decide I'm going to play 7th or 8th, then people are just going to have to cope with them being 5 mil each too big.
Yeah, I mean, it's it. You're not going to be playing.
But everything else. So the only other thing is Bestigors and my Centigors, and they're both. I've got trays already in the post. And the local games club, there's a guy who does 3D printing there.
Yep.
And he has been working on these already. So I mean, not the hardest things to design, but these ones fit really nicely. And that is so. This is this will be a Centigor Chieftain.
Yep.
He's not actually glued onto this at the moment, so he'll be. I'll leave him on a regular 25 by thingy, and then this is a 60 by 30. Yeah.
Oh, is that a magnet?
No. It's just been designed so well. So it's a sort of plastic 3D printed.
Yeah.
Sort of base, but it's been designed so well that it literally just
clips on.
Fits really nicely.
What happens when you've put sand and stuff on there? Will it clip on so well?
We'll see.
I don't think it will.
But I think that's the solution I'm going to take for individual characters.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, actually, you could probably get some for me if you don't mind, because I've got plenty of horse as well. So
I think the other weird thing about the Beastman list as well is that individuals such as shamans and sort of other characters actually have 2 base sizes listed in their army list.
Do they?
Because you could either put them with the Bestigor units, which are on 30s, or the normal units, which are on 25s.
Right.
You can base these. So technically, this guy can chill out on his own on a 25mm base under the new rules. Not that anyone would really, I don't think, care.
Well, in tournament play, then that'd be fine because it says so in the book. So unless they've ruled it in a competition saying it has to be a 30.
In which case, base adapter.
Yeah, of course. So
literally the only hero I think where it's going to actually occur to me to have to change it is going to be the Centaur guy.
I do like those base adapters, though. You might have to get me some, mate.
I could probably design something and print it myself, or I can pick you up some.
Yeah, that'd be good. So with that, the old world coming out, what do you think that's going to do to certain games? Kings of War, Oathmark, to say the least. Is there might be a few more sort of historically games that are sort of similar?
I think the easiest one to answer that is things like the Warhammer Armies Project and Ninth Age and those sorts of things. I think they've essentially been nuked from space.
Yeah, Ninth Age is going to be gone, isn't it? I mean,
because if you're clinging so hard onto playing Warhammer, this is going to be a better game. I've flicked through the Ninth Age when it first came out and stuff.
I imagine the ones that will stick to Ninth Age are the ones that really had a lot of input in designing it.
Possibly.
But everyone else was just go.
Or people who are just very. I mean, you see it all the time on the internet. Very, very anti Games Workshop.
Yep, you get that. Yeah.
So this is basically a new edition of their game anyway. So this is so they moved from 8th edition to these, and now there's 10th edition potentially out, and that's I think that they're gone. I think any tournaments I would have thought. I mean, I might be wrong, as you said before, answers.
Hey,
what thoughts in the comments, but that's my thought on that. Kings of War, I think they will lose players, but I think at this point in the Kings of War tournament scene and people who love multi-basing and people who love that just pure stripped down tactics of Kings of War, which is not really me, I think that they'll stick around. So I think there'll still be Kings of War events, but I can see that it might be harder to get casual Kings of War players involved.
Yeah.
And then obviously beautiful Oathmark. Beautiful Oathmark. I think it'd be interesting. I've got an event in 2 weeks, an Oathmark event. I think we've got 12 players signed up already, all paid up, ready to go. Might have a few more.
Yeah.
I'm limited to 20 anyway, I think. So it's going to be a good event. And I think I might have a bit of a poll around that and see what they all make of it. I think Oathmark's definitely got some disaffected Games Workshop people that probably couldn't be tempted back. I think it's a more fluid. It's still going to be a more fluid game. It's still going to have different tactics. Definitely going to have different tactics. So Warhammer's still going to be about crunching together, I think, and then charges and counter charges all sort of piling in. They have adopted the sort of almost Oathmark moving back, but still in good order. The move back in good order rule, where you're not necessarily fleeing. Feels quite Oathmarky, but in general, Oathmark's still going to play very differently. It's still going to feel like a smaller game. It's definitely a simpler game. If I was teaching some kids to play rank and flank games, I'd probably teach them Oathmark first. Yeah. Because I can teach you Oathmark in an hour. I can teach you Oathmark in 15 minutes and get you playing. That's not the case with this.
No.
But we discussed a while ago that the more effort you have to put into learning a game, the more dedicated to that game you're going to be. So I think,
and we see that with fans of any Warhammer game. They really get into it because it takes a lot to learn the lore, the rules, the intricacies about your armies. It takes a hell of a lot. So yeah, you do get invested in that game because of it. Whereas you might not get that so much in Oathmark because there's no fluff, there's no depth.
lore.
It's not there.
There's not a lot of depth to the game. Generally, it's my favourite rank and flank up till now. It might still continue to be. It's definitely got a whole much nicer community. The Oathmark community, I've been in the sort of community pages for Old World since they announced it, and there's a big mix of people, but it's certainly not the nicest community I've ever been a member of. There's a lot of people, sort of different views. Let's definitely put it that way about what the game should be and how it should be played and stuff. And I think there's a big split between old style players and people that only ever played a bit of 8th or have only played Age of Sigmar. But there's drama and arguments and stuff which you just don't see in the Oathmark. I don't think I've ever seen drama and argument. But
is that because
Matt does such a good job moderating it?
But maybe, but is that because it's not got the depth to have that conversation?
I just don't think it's got the player base, if I'm honest.
Yeah, maybe.
If you play an Oathmark and you're enjoying it, it's sort of a labour of love. You're doing it because you want to. You've sort of sorted it out and stuff. Whereas potentially you're going to be playing the Old World because it's Games Workshop's next big thing.
Yeah, well, soon to be seen, isn't it?
So
at the moment, it's all just a specialist game. But whether they move that over to the main games, who knows? It depends on how well it sells and if it continues being the top seller. But
yeah, this year though, I will say, I mean, I only ever tend to keep one big game, I call them, and one skirmish game in my sort of stable year on year, and I think this year it's going to be all Old World. Oathmark will have to take a back seat. So I'll join some sort of campaign at the local club. I'll try and get plenty of games in, and we'll see where I go with that. But this year for sure, I am one Oathmark player that will be playing.
The Old World
temporarily be taken by the Old World. And I'm sure, I'm 100% sure I'm not the only one. I don't think I think Oathmark will be possibly more affected than Kings of War because Oathmark doesn't really have the tournament scene, or
it is a more similar game as well. Whereas Kings of War is a very different beast in a lot of respects. Whereas I do see Oathmark as a slightly simpler version of Warhammer without the fluff. Yeah, essentially.
And well, I get sort of messages and stuff, complaints all the time that there's not really very many Oathmark players or events or anything. So yeah, I think there's people struggle to get a game of that, where in theory you should be able to go to any sort of club.
You just go to Games Workshop, you'll be playing it when you're...
Yeah, so this is going to be easier to get games of, which I think will convert even players that say prefer Oathmark. Because, I mean, I think I've discussed before that I prefer a Warlords of Erewhon to quite a few other skirmish games. I really like the way it works, but I've never played it against a stranger, essentially, because
no one plays it.
No one plays it, so it's sort of stuck. So yeah, that'll definitely affect those communities, I think. But yeah, the sort of knockoff games, the knockoff Warhammer community is the most, and probably Kings of War the least. Yeah.
Agreed. I think I agree with that. I think Ninth Age is going to absolutely suffer. I think Kings of War will. Well, Mantic are fairly strong anyway, and I think they always find a way to make the best of a bad situation. And Oathmark's a funny one as well because it's not really supported either, is it? It's had those.
There is more released. Apparently out coming. There's more books coming, which I'm sure we'll look at. But
yeah.
It's not the sort of. I mean, there's the constant minis release for that. There's the Human Militia just came out. I believe there might be some good
which would make
related to that for my event. So yeah, it is being sort of gently supported, but not anywhere near the sort of hype. The hype was actually something else I wanted to talk about. Something that really impressed me today was that things like the base adapters and there was an army list builder.
Yes.
So
We've been playing around with that.
Yeah, that came out the last couple of days. We've got base adapters. We've got. I've noticed that there's already sort of pirates of the PDF out there. There's such a big player base that's interested in things like this are getting made straight away.
Yeah. I honestly think James Workshop have underestimated how big this game is going to be. I think it's. Yes, I do think that a lot of people were going to take this on as their main game for a fair while.
Yeah, and
definitely.
It's the dedication. It's the fact that someone's within a couple of days basically inputted the entire stats out of 2 of these army books.
Yeah.
Into an army builder. So even if they had the engine ready to go, they still had to copy and paste. All of these stats through.
And it's quite a good army. It is quite good, that army builder as well.
Yeah, I haven't super checked to make sure it's all accurate, but I'm sure it probably is because it looked to match my Excels. In fact, I noticed there were some issues with my Excel list that I hadn't picked up until I'd ran my army through that. So quite the opposite. So it's and you wouldn't get that. I mean, Oathmark still doesn't have an online army builder.
No,
it kind of works through Battlescribe-ish. So it's that is going to help pull players in.
Yeah, big time. Big time.
It's like a snowball.
Yeah.
Did you ever play that weird? Was it Japanese game where you had to roll everything up?
Yeah, put it there somewhere.
So yeah, that's the way it goes. Get the player base and then expand.
This release has completely eclipsed the epic, the 40k order. It's not 40k, was it? It's 30k epic.
Yeah.
Release they did. I mean, that's almost everyone's forgotten about that now. By the seems of things, it's so. It's just whether the train will keep running. It needs to run. It needs to run.
Do you think it'll last? How long do you think it'll last?
The hype needs to carry on going for a good 6 months to a year for GW to really take it as seriously and not just put it to one side.
Do you reckon we're going to get all the armies this year, or I've saw the rumor that we get all the armies?
Yeah. I reckon so, because after what they probably see with the release, they'll want to get those armies out and everyone just buying, going having a frenzy buy, getting on there.
Because in the olden days, it was like 3 armies a year, 2 armies a year. It wasn't a lot.
I mean, but GW nowadays they release quite a lot, quite regularly now.
Has stepped up, hasn't it?
That without a doubt, they will have all the books out quite quickly. I think because they want people. They know there's a certain amount of people who have spanked all their money on Bretonians or Tomb Kings, but there's a lot of people out there holding back to buy the orcs, to buy the high elves. There's a lot of people who are waiting for those armies. They won't want to leave that. They want it whilst the hype's going, so they'll get them out quite quickly. The orcs are coming out in the next couple of months, or next month or so, maybe even earlier.
Yeah.
After that, they'll want to get another good faction out. So you might get either Empire or High Elves or something.
The rumor I heard was pairs as well. So it's weird that the orcs are coming out on their own.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's not just the orcs, if they just previewed the orcs and in a couple of weeks they'll preview, say, Empire maybe.
Yeah. So actually, on that, right, I actually watched a YouTube video today, and it was quite interesting. It was just this guy talking about think before you buy Bretonians, basically. Okay. Right. Okay. He was saying that Bretonians in the past has always been a very sort of side faction. They've never been a big faction in
no,
Warhammer.
They never got, I don't think, a 7th or an 8th edition.
And even in 5th edition, they were still. Although they got there was in the box set, they still really were sort of a side faction. Mm-hmm. But they were saying that you really want to be waiting for Empire. Empire, this guy particularly reckons that they're going to have an absolutely huge release, and it's going to be all about Empire for the good guys.
I don't think so.
Well, it's just his opinion, but I wouldn't be surprised. The Sigmar hammer
that's true.
Sits there. You know, they're going to play on that. They'll play on that.
But I don't think there'll be any kits though. I think Empire have had all their kits.
Oh, maybe not new kits, but you say that they will. They'll have there'll be a new monster of some form, new Griffin or something, probably with a new ride.
Imperial Dragon, maybe, or something.
Yeah, something like that. Be something like that. There may be a new unit because Bretonnia's got a new Foot Knight unit, so I would imagine that Empire will get something similar. I think everyone will get something similar. They'll all get something. Actually,
new unit wise, if they wanted to really sell some models, and I mean, I'm noticing that Games Workshop are being nostalgic in the last 5 years or so. So Sisters of Battle squats, the Ulfric worshipping faction, who Middenheim. Is it Middenheim? Correct me down in the comments, guys. But they had the sort of Teutonian guards and stuff like that in Storm of Chaos, and they were very short-lived models, very hard to get hold of, all metal and such. That'd be interesting.
But and this is it. The Empire, compared to the Bretonnians, the Empire have got so much more scope. I mean, you can have ogres, you can have halflings, little squatty type thing, dwarves and stuff. You can have just humans, wizards. There's all different sorts of things you can have with the Empire army that you can't particularly have with Bretonnians. Cannons, artillery.
I think the way it's going to go is you'll get all I think pretty much all the models out of these books are existing models. I don't think there's going to be anything, I don't think there's anything in here that you're really going to see that's new. I think what they'll do is then the whole point. The Arcane Journals.
That's the whole point of those extra little bits.
The Arcane Journals might be used to sell a few units here.
Buy this book, get this new really cool miniature who is really good.
Yeah, I mean, they did bring out the new Tomb Dragon, which I don't like, but then the two new Pegasus champions for Bretonnians are lovely. You can't knock them at all, I don't think. And there was this wizard lady, which I did a little bit of Photoshop on to take her base away, and she looked way better. And she has got a much more sort of classic look about her as well. I really like her. So they are definitely leaning into the sort of old world aesthetic, which they need to, I think, because they lost players to the crazy Age of Sigmar aesthetic. So
it's I think people would quite quickly push this to one side if it went sort of really too high fantasy sci-fi Age of Sigmar feel. People go, no, not for me. This is not fantasy. They've done the right thing. They've kept it to its roots. I mean, really have kept its roots because it's basically 6th edition. So it's.
I think it does have a good future, and I think because this exists now, I think that even if Games Workshop drop it, even if they spend the rest of the year bringing out some Arcane Journals and they make a handful of new kits and then they never touch it again, I think people will be playing this for years.
Yeah, agreed.
I said, I'm currently in a Mordheim campaign because they've never redone Mordheim. If they redid Mordheim, the people in my Mordheim campaign would all buy it and play that.
Yeah.
And said that how old's the Mordheim, but when was the last time it was in print?
Guess what will happen after they've released Warhammer and it's done well.
There is a big paragraph in here about Mordheim, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And the fact that they've done these sort of Ravening Horde type books where they've got all the armor lists in one book, and then the rule book. That's the reason why this will last for a fair while.
Because these 3 books.
That's all you need.
That's all you need to play this for a long time, yeah.
You don't even need the FAQs or anything. There might be some that help, but if you're just playing pick-up games, all you need.
Here's an idea for them to carry on going in future years, though. 3 years down the line. Do you remember War Machine?
Yeah, God, how can I forget?
Oh, well, no, actually, no. So I mentioned War Machine because the way they used to release new models and new rules was they would every quarter they would bring out a new book, and that would have new models for all the factions in that section.
Yep.
But they have done that before for Warhammer. Storm of Chaos. So this has new rules in a similar way to the Arcane Journals for different armies. So we've got some. We've got this Balako, so presumably the first time his rules were in print.
Sure.
But we've also got some good guy stuff. We got the reincarnations of Sigmar. So they've released new models, new rules for multiple lists. I think there's some dwarf stuff in here, and they had the guys with the axes on the chains and stuff. Mm-hmm. So this, I think, could be, and this would fit with the Forge World way of doing things.
Yeah.
So a campaign sort of book, but with new models, new rules, and then just to add them on. I mean, that will cause the sort of book bloat that everyone hates about 40k. If you have, one unit in here and one unit in Ravening Hordes, and then you still need the rule book.
Yeah.
I could see that being a relatively sensible way to move, because they've got quite a lot of story to sort of move forward in. I'm not sure how many years it is between now and when old Warhammer was set, but
is it 100? I want to say 100, but I might be wrong.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah, it might be.
I think it's a chunk more than that.
I'm not too good with the lore of it myself.
Look it up. Answers in the comments again.
Help us.
But yeah, I think they've got a lot of. They can move it. Apparently, people are thinking that where it's set now is only just on the verge of the first invasion of chaos. Mm-hmm. So they could very much be a sort of Storm of Chaos type event, and sort of campaign rule book.
Yeah, some new bits. Well, it's probably where they will maybe add in things like Kislev
or Dark Elves. Yeah.
I'm pretty when the whole Aruma Mill started like 4 years ago. Kislev was the first images they showed.
It was the first images they showed. I did wonder about that.
And as everyone was getting excited, Kislev.
But I was very unexcited for those. I thought they looked hideous. I thought they were really horrible.
But a lot of people want Kislev, but a lot of people miss them. And that will be an army that they want to throw out there at some point, I'm pretty sure.
I think this was actually... But yeah, no, Kislev would be a good one. And I said, but hopefully it doesn't look like those pictures we got early on.
No.
But Kislev is where you could actually release a whole new army from scratch.
Yeah, really Kislev were basically Empire, though, weren't they? So they were subsidiaries to Empire. So I think that were they not in an Empire book originally as sort of...
Yeah.
So, but they could easily be its own army.
I think there may have been a sort of supplement similar to that Storm of Chaos at some point with some of their stuff in as well. I think they got like a little skinny sort of army list like that at some point whenever they released, because there was the Tsarina on her polar bear and the Lancers and stuff. But once again, a lot of models that were very rare that are almost impossible to find on eBay. It's not just that they're hard to track down. I think there is certain units out there that you just don't see.
Yeah.
And they're in that category. So,
were they released in 4th edition? 4th and 5th, because they don't. None of them models are being re-released. So, would they even have those sculpts?
Couldn't tell you. I mean, it was all metal and stuff. I mean, they are releasing a lot of metal for Orcs and Goblins.
Yeah,
a lot of metal. I mean, Marauder Giant in metal.
See, that's interesting. The Marauder Giant, yeah,
that's an old model.
Yeah, that's good to see that they're doing things like that. They bring blimey, if they brought back the Marauder line, I'd buy the whole lot. The Marauder Dwarves. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. I'll be all over that. Mm-hmm. Do that. That'd be amazing. It does make you wonder. They must still have the...
Well, I heard that a lot of the Marauder stuff got lost, literally thrown in a skip, and I've had that rumor sort of reinforced.
But do you need that? If there's still obviously metals out there. So
Sure.
And Games Workshop probably have still got crap somewhere. Someone has probably got a crap load of them still in the box.
Yeah.
So you must be able to just remake those miniatures off them old.
Like the BBC remastering Doctor Who off someone's old VHS.
Yeah. You must be able to, So just because those old original molds have been thrown away doesn't necessarily mean they can't redo them as long as they've got a version of that model somewhere.
True.
Which they probably
especially with
have.
like modern scanning techniques as well. They could
exactly
scan them, tweak them. There was definitely a little thing I noticed on the Warhammer community. I didn't really read it in depth, but it looks like they've been tweaking some of the older models before re-releasing them as well, just to
sharpen them up,
fit together better, and stuff like that. So that is going on.
No, definitely. Well, for this particular game, I am full of hope. I'm excited. It's got me really buzzing for the hobby.
Yeah.
It's got me wanting to get on the painting table and paint.
Yeah.
So for me, coming out at the end of finishing off the Howling Griffins, it's quite a nice project to go straight into. Yeah, I'm really excited for it, and I know that you are.
Yeah, no, absolutely reinvigorated me. You could say I've not had an army project for a while, and I've not really needed to. I've got more Oathmark stuff than I need at the moment, so I don't need a new Oathmark army. I've not really been playing much else. I've been playing a bit of Burrows and Badgers, but that's only like 10 models. So I needed something to really, and I've not been this excited for gaming. Honestly, I don't. The last time I felt like this about gaming was probably when 8th edition was about to come out.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it?
And I got ready for that. So I am really positive about this, and I think I'll be getting a lot more actual games played, and we'll get those beastmen painted. And it's I think at this point there's a lot of people out there who aren't fans of Games Workshop trying to be negative in the face of what I think could be. Games Workshop are going to try and make as much money off this as possible. That's how they work. And they are going to put power creep in, and they are going to have book bloat. But if we can still have a good game out of it, then what's the bad,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's, like I say, you only need the books we've got now. You need
that's the other thing. I said,
you can always just go put a line there. That's the books we're going to use, especially if a little pickup game with your mate. You don't need bloat then. So
and it doesn't have to be. Obviously, I would say that I would probably agree with the people who say you have to, if you want to keep stuff like this going, you have to give Games Workshop some money. I've given them money for the books. I'm probably going to go and buy a herdstone at some point just because I fancy one and the plastic kit's quite nice. And if they redo some Beastman units, I probably will pick up some bits.
Yeah, definitely.
As long as they keep that old aesthetic. So I think I will try and support Games Workshop. But I certainly won't be buying the whole armies. This is going to be my Jabba Slive.
And
stuff like that. I think because... Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm going to play it, so I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to try and bankrupt myself, and I'm probably not going to be playing any Games Workshop tournaments.
No.
And as you say, we've got everything we need now for the foreseeable.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So yeah, I think it's positive. I think you can take from it. I think you can pick and choose what you want to take from it, and I think it's a good way to get a lot of new rank and flank players. And if it all does collapse and has a bad taste and everyone gives up on it, then everyone can. It might even eventually suit Oathmark to reuse those rank and flank armies again.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's going to happen though, mate. I do think this game's going to be around for a little while.
You're going to see it to stay.
I think it is. It is. They may not see it as their flagship game anymore, but do you know what? I think that might be a good thing. I think it might be because you're getting different rule writers on this. You got the specialist games guys on this, and not the main guys. And I don't particularly like the new main games that have GW done for a long time.
No, we played a bit of 40k, didn't we? In a couple of editions ago when they had those index games, the index book, and we enjoyed that until they started bringing out the codexes.
Yeah, exactly. And Age of Sigmar's just never appealed to me. And the things I've heard about, I've not played the 10th edition for 40k.
No, not touching.
Doesn't interest me at all.
Not at all.
So yeah, I think it's actually to its benefit that it's being done by the specialist team. It may be a bit more expensive, and yes, it may mean you've got older models that you're buying for what you might think an overpriced price, but I think you can get a better game out of it. Sure. I really do. That's what I think.
Okay, well. Yeah, I think that's everything we currently think about the old world.
So here we go. Right, new game.
Right, and I want to see what 1,000 points. 1,000 points by April.
That's the challenge. We're doing it.
1,000 points by April.
Right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you've kept all this way, thank you. Comments and stuff in below.
Yeah, answer all our weird questions and point out our knowledge gaps, and obviously let us know if you think this has got legs, and if it's a flash in the pan.
Definitely, and if obviously, please hit the subscribe button to either me or James.